What's up, gamers? It's Above, back with another video, this time with an in-depth breakdown of which artifact mods you should be running in Season of the Chosen. I'll be covering which mods I see being meta in GMs, the buffs and debuffs the various mods provide, and a few sleeper weapon options that could just make their way into your GM loadouts later this season. Let's get into it. As you guys know, the first column contains weapon champion mods, and first up we have Overload Bow. This is my favorite form of overload in Destiny 2, right up there with Oppressive Darkness overload nades from a few seasons ago. It is a one-shot stun, and it is very consistent. Really easy to keep overload champions suppressed, and you can pair it with Tiku's Divination, which is a brand new bow this season, which will be super fun to run in GMs. But my sleeper pick is actually going to be Le Monarch because of the poison damage. It's able to keep overload champions suppressed for extremely long periods of time, and is actually decent for ad clear as well, so highly recommend this mod. Next up, we have Unstoppable Pulse Rifle. Not much to say other than it's a very consistent form of unstop, and you can pair it with Gion 7 and Stars and Shadow that can both roll Disruption Break, as well as the Messenger, which can roll Desperado. So being able to have Unstop Pulse Rifle on those is only a bonus. The only form of anti-barrier we have in terms of primaries this season is Scout Rifle. I wasn't super sold on the mod at first, but you can get Vorpal on a few different scouts in the sandbox right now, and with that, it's a 3 to 4 shot break, which is actually pretty good, so can't complain, and you can deal with anti-barriers from a long distance. Unstop Hand Cannon. This is a very consistent returning mod. Never have issues with this, and you can pair it with the Bottom Dollar, as well as Palindrome and the new Trials Hand Cannon. So being able to have Unstop on those in the sandbox is going to be really nice. And lastly, we have Overload Submachine Gun. I'm not a huge fan of this, only because bow exists, and if you can peak shot and stun an overload champ in one shot, why would you risk having to sustain fire on an overload, especially when they can one-shot you? It's similar to overload AR, even though it's better. Again, like having to sustain fire downrange on an overload champion usually isn't a good idea, so I didn't go with this mod personally. As for the second column, I went with Scout and Sniper Rifle targeting. Both are anti-barrier options this season, and the fact that it's a 2-point mod is really, really nice. It's usually much more expensive, like between 3 and 5 points, so the fact that you get it for 2 is really nice. I didn't go with Scout Rifle Loader or any other mods actually in this column, simply because I didn't feel like they provided enough value, and I wanted to get other mods unlocked later in the artifact. So Scout Rifle Loader, most scouts have pretty decent reload anyway. It's not a super expensive mod on its own regardless, so I didn't go with it in this case, but you can if you would really like to. Bow dexterity, not a big deal. Same with sidearm dexterity. To me, completely irrelevant. You could use sniper rifle dexterity if you'd like. It does help with hot swapping a little bit, but if you guys have watched my how to DPS like the best video, you guys know how to quick drug glitch by now, and I'll actually link that in the description below. But if you want to use this, you can. I just don't see many situations in PvE where this would be useful. If you guys are huge PvPers, absolutely go for it. Grab this mod. Absolutely a lead in PvP. But for my PvE players out there, there's no need for this mod. As for column 3, the first mod, Unflinching Scout Rifle Aim, I did not go for this one simply because I never really find use in unflinching mods for my primary weapons. You're always going to miss a couple shots in PvE, so I don't find value in this one at all. As for Sniper Rifle Scavenger, this saves you 2 points from the standard mod. Izzy is obviously very meta, so having Scav for 1 point on your armor is a steal, and the fact that it'll allow you to free up additional space for Charge with Light and Warmind cells, absolute yes from me. You must pick up this mod. Bow Loader, instant skip from me. I'm not really going to touch on this. I don't find bow reload speed to be that big of a factor, especially in PvE. And the fact that Overload Bow is a one-shot stun regardless, you're not really having to put a ton of shots down range, so I went ahead and skipped this one. Unflinching Sniper Aim. So I know that they added additional flinch in PvP. They reworked that. But I swear, I am getting flinched off of targets so much more in PvE this season. So grabbing this mod for either PvP or PvE could be a huge steal, especially because it's a very expensive mod normally. Again, for 1 point, it's a steal, and later on in the season, who knows, it might become meta to run this in PvE as well. I've definitely been having issues getting flinched to the moon and back on certain targets from champions and things like that, so Unflinching Sniper Aim, definitely a good pickup. And then same with Submachine Gun Loader, similar to Sniper Scav. It's normally a 3-point mod. It's now 1-point mod. Submachine guns are very meta. Being able to reload them for 1 point on your armor is an absolute steal, and allows you again to free up additional mods add slots for things like scabs or charge with light, warmind cells, whatever it might be. So definitely recommend picking this one up as well. Heading into the fourth column, we have anti-barrier sniper rifle. If you guys have not tried this, it is absolutely insane. I tweeted out on the first day of the DLC how excited I was to try this, and it lives up to the hype. Not only does it pierce anti-barrier shields, it does 20% bonus damage to champions, and Izanagi's Burden just became even more meta because with a quad round, it insta breaks barriers and does 20% bonus damage. So you'll see in the clip, I hit for 50k, and then with the anti-barrier shot of Izanagi's Burden, once the barrier is actually shielded, I hit for 60,000. So it's just an absolutely insane perk. I highly recommend you unlock it. Even though it is 6 points, it is well worth it. Must grab artifact mod in anti-barrier sniper rifle. Next up, we have Disrupting Blade. This is a 6-point mod where using a sword allows you to disrupt overload champions. It sounds good in theory, but knowing that a lot of the overload champs are actually fallen and they like to teleport, they do a ton of damage. This is a very risky mod to use, so I highly recommend skipping out on this mod simply because there are safer options for a lot cheaper, such as overload bow or even surge detonators that I'll be getting to here in a bit, where an arc grenade can actually stun overload champions. So I am not recommending this mod. Moving on, Resonance Siphon. This is very strong if you're going to have stasis in your GM team comp. Every time you or a fire team member stuns a champion, you get 1/3 of every single ability that is currently regenning. So that includes your rift, melee, or grenade. And with stasis, that's extremely beneficial because of the extremely long cooldowns that these abilities have. So getting 1/3 of them back all at once, anytime you stun a champion, especially on something like overloads where you have to stun them multiple times, this is very, very strong. So highly recommend this mod. Next up, we have Surge Detonators. Not only is this going to be strong because arc grenades stun overload champions, it'll be even stronger because this season, Curus of the Falling Star was released for Titan, making Thunder Crash very viable in a GM setting, giving you an overshield and increased damage to the super. It does an insane amount of burst damage and will be very valuable against champions and GMs. So being able to stun overload champions with that subclass is going to be awesome. And then I went ahead and skipped out on Inferno Whip. I'm not trying to melee on-stop champions. It just doesn't sound like the best idea in a GM environment. I guess if you have extra slots and you're not sure what else to use in your artifact, I guess you could slot it just in case, you know, a unstop is rushing you or something like that, but I didn't find it necessary. Heading into the fifth and final column of the artifact, the first mod we have is Focusing Lens. Your light abilities do bonus damage to combatants affected by stasis. So this includes both abilities such as grenades as well as supers. So Nighthawk and Thunder Crash just got even stronger with this mod. So those who are actually running the light-based subclasses would want to throw this mod on, and it is very good. I do recommend it. Passive Guard is a great mod. It gives you a 60% damage reduction while having a sword out while enemies are nearby. However, because I'm not using Disruption Blade, I didn't go with this mod. So if you guys want to use this in more general gameplay, fantastic mod, definitely go for it, but I don't recommend it for GMs. Next up, we have Glacial Inheritance. Defeating targets with your stasis super refunds super energy. I cast several supers with this, killing different amounts of ads each time, and it always seemed to grant about 1/3 of your super back, which is really nice because, again, stasis supers and abilities have very long cooldowns. So anytime you can get a portion of that super back, it's going to be very valuable, especially when you're running GMs and you're using it for ad control. The more you can have those abilities up, the better. So very strong mod, even though it is 6 points. I do recommend it. Next up, we have one of my favorite mods in the entire artifact, Sundering Glare. This is a 6-point mod that states rapid precision hits against distant combatants weaken them for a short duration, and this is actually a 20% debuff on those targets. So in a setting like GMs where you're peppering champions, right, this is going to be very, very strong because you'll pretty much have this debuff at all times, and you won't be relying on your teammates for something like Divinity. So you're able to run a setup like Triple Izanagi, and you're going to absolutely be baking champions because not only are you getting that 20% debuff of Sundering Glare, you can pair that with something like Anti-Barrier Sniper Rifle, where once they shield up, you're also doing 20% more damage with the sniper itself. So these two together are very strong, and the way you can tell that this has been applied is you'll actually start to hit increased numbers, 20%, as I noted before. You get a visual indicator on your weapon, as well as an aura that appears over the enemy's head, similar to if they had been blinded or suppressed. So it's very clear once the buff is actually active, and you'll be able to take advantage of this constantly throughout GMs. Last up, we have Volatile Conduction. Grants bonus arc super damage if cast while critically wounded. Lasts until the end of super activation. So if you're running this with Curus of the Falling Star, there is overlap because you do also get an overshield with that exotic equipped in Thunder Crash. So I'm not sure how valuable this is. Plus you need to rely on being critically wounded when cast. So personally for me, probably not the best option, especially with that exotic existing in the sandbox now. But if you're running it, you can't find another mod to use, definitely feel free to use it. Can't hurt, especially in those panic super situations. So Volatile Conduction, decent mod, but I am not going to use it myself. And that concludes the Bell of Conquest artifact deep dive. I hope you guys found this video useful. I hope you guys got some cool ideas for builds that you'll be able to run in GMs later this season. And be sure to stop on by the Twitch channel at twitch.tv/above. We'll be doing farming for Nightfall specific weapons, as well as Gilded Conquer helps later this season. So I hope to see you guys there. If you guys did enjoy the video, a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated. And I'll catch you next time. Peace!